Hello, I'm Evelyn. This incident took place a couple of years ago, and I'm happy to say that I've freed myself of these people. I did have lots of good times with them, but the bad times that I did have with them were enough to break our relationship. But before I tell you about the incident, I think it's necessary to give you a lot of background information about my ex-husband, Benny, and his family. Benny and I met at college. We were in our senior year when we met. We found each other because we were at the library at the same time almost every weekend. We always sat next to each other, and that just started a conversation. We ended up going on quite a few dates after our initial conversations. Before I knew it, we were dating. About 5 months after both of us graduated, we decided to move in together. Benny was a fun-loving and very easygoing man. I guess that's what drew me into him even more, because I was a very tightly wound person. I needed everything organized and in place, while Benny was a more go-with-the-flow kind of person. He balanced me out perfectly. A few months after we moved in together and had enough time to settle down with each other, we decided that it was time for us to introduce each other to our families. My family was a little overprotective of me, so Benny did have to go through an interview of sorts with them before he was approved. Meeting Benny's parents, on the other hand, made it clear to me where he got his easy personality from. Benny came from a family that loved to prank each other. They thought of it as a way to bond with each other. It was fun and cute most of the time. They were mindful enough to not go too far with the pranks when it came to me, because they knew that I wasn't the biggest fan. The first prank they ever played on me was when I met them for the first time, back when Benny and I had just started dating. They purposely oversalted my food. I didn't know about Benny's love for pranks because Benny never warned me. He didn't tell me because that was supposed to be part of the whole plan. Anyway, while everyone sat and praised the food, I had to sit there and try my best to eat it. Benny's dad, Alan, kept asking me to continue eating, but I was already feeling like all the water in my body had dried up. Finally, Benny's mom broke her character and began laughing. I looked at her in confusion. She told me to stop eating. They told me that they had pranked me and it was a little initiation into their family. I will admit that it did make me laugh, and I did enjoy that moment. I thought it would create a better dynamic between Benny's parents and me. Whenever I did meet Benny's parents, I would either be full on guard and ready to expose any prank, or I would take part in pranking someone. It was always a good time. I even knew that it made Benny feel great about me because I took the pranks so well. One day, I got curious about why Benny was just so appreciative of my good nature about the pranks. He literally never stopped thanking me for playing along with his parents' antics after we were returning back from his parents' place. "Why are you always so appreciative of me after we come back from your parents' place?" "Oh, because, you're okay with their pranks." That's hardly a proper reason. Who wouldn't be okay with a bunch of harmless and fun pranks? Oh, trust me, a lot of people. I've had a lot of relationships fall through because they couldn't stand my parents' pranks. That's crazy. This is all just good-natured fun, and it's a lot coming from me. I'm not even a fan of pranks. I know. That's exactly why I'm so glad that you're okay with it. Hell, you even participate in pranking others. Yeah, as long as no one is crossing any boundaries or getting hurt, there's no harm in some fun. I really hit the jackpot with you, didn't I? I'd love to say yes, but really, this is the bare minimum. I am concerned about the kind of women you were seeing before me, though. Knowing that Benny found me to be a breath of fresh air made me feel warm on the inside. Benny was the first guy that was actually fun to be around with. I didn't have to change a single thing about myself. He was careful to make sure he wasn't overstepping any of my boundaries, while also making sure that I was having a good time. I knew for sure that I had hit the jackpot with him. I guess it came as no surprise to anyone after dating for 3 years that we got engaged. Of course, the engagement also happened in a prank fashion. We were at Benny's parents' place for dinner one day, and his mom, Sherry, ended up spilling her glass of wine all over my dress. Everybody made such a big fuss about it, but I just laughed it off because I knew it was a prank. Sherry led me upstairs to help get into dry and clean clothes. She had me wear sweatpants and a hoodie because all her good clothes were in the wash. I tried suggesting that I could wear Alan's clothes, but she told me that they would be too big on me. I knew better than to argue with my boyfriend's mom, so I let it go. Anyway, when I got back down, Alan looked at me in confusion and asked me what was in my pocket. I don't even know how I didn't notice there was something in my hoodie pocket. I reached my hand into the pocket and pulled the object out. In my hand was a ring box. I looked up in confusion and saw Benny getting down on one knee. I couldn't help but scream a little. That was the best prank ever. Benny and I were set to get married in the next year. I had always made big plans for the kind of wedding I was going to have, and while I enjoyed the pranks that Benny's parents played, I knew I didn't want any pranks happening on my wedding day. I just wanted it to be a day of fun without anything going wrong. No humiliation or embarrassment, just good old-fashioned joy. I knew it would have been a sensitive topic to bring up with Alan and Sherry by myself, so I hoped that Benny would have been able to do it. Of course, I was also a little apprehensive about approaching him, but it was still 100 times easier to approach him than his parents. One night, before we went to sleep, I decided to talk to Benny about it. "Hey, I need to talk to you about something. It's a little sensitive." "Yeah?" "Let me just say that you know that I love your family and I thoroughly enjoy the way we're comfortable with each other, enough to prank each other." "Uh-huh." "While I love them to bits, I also kind of maybe sort of don't want them throwing any pranks on our wedding." "What? Why?" "It's only because I want us to have the perfect wedding." "But what's more perfect than everyone laughing?" "Aren't there several other ways to make others laugh than one of us getting pranked?" "Yeah, I guess. I don't think my parents would be too happy about it. They love playing pranks, you know that." "That's why I wanted to ask you if you would be able to talk to them about it." "No way! I do not want to do that. They will probably not even listen." "Look, I know that this is a big event and your family wants it to be big and full of who you are. But this is my wedding too. I'm just asking for something small. It's only one time and only for a few hours that I'm asking them not to play a prank." "Yeah, I'm on board with whatever you want too. I just won't be the one to tell my parents. You have to do that yourself." "But I'm already doing you a favor by agreeing to what you want. This is your duty now. You want it? You ask for it." I was annoyed with the way Benny was reacting. I was not asking him to do something crazy. I would never have had him ask my parents to do something I knew would upset them. I kept trying to get Benny to talk to his parents after that conversation, but he just didn't budge. I was upset, but since I wanted absolutely no pranks on our big day, I knew I had to talk to his parents. I decided to call Sherry and Alan over for dinner one night and broke the news to them. They were not happy. They tried to tell me that I was robbing Benny of enjoying a family tradition on his big day. But I didn't see why it had to be carried out on a big day to begin with. The air between Benny's parents and I was a little tense after that. They agreed that no pranks would be played at the wedding, and I breathed a huge sigh of relief. Benny also became a little distant from me, and even though I kept trying to talk to him about it, he never wanted to. At some point, I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. I mean, was it really that big of a deal? Was I actually being a douchebag? I didn't want to jeopardize my marriage before it even happened. I decided to talk to my mom about it because I was really close to just giving in and telling Benny that his parents could do whatever. I went to my mom because she was the most rational person I knew. She never let her emotions get in the way of her reasoning. Plus, she had been a victim of some of the pranks that Benny's family played, and while she didn't enjoy it, she wasn't mad about it either. Okay, I have a sort of dilemma. Oh, I love dilemmas. Lay it on me. Well, you know how Benny's family loves to play pranks? Uh-huh. Is it wrong of me to not want them to do any of that at our wedding? Why don't you want them to do it? I know I didn't enjoy their pranks, but you've never had a problem with it. Yeah, that's kind of why it's a dilemma. I just want a good old-fashioned wedding. I guess I'm also scared they'd take the prank too far, given that it's a big day for Benny and me. What did Benny have to say about that? Well, he wasn't happy in the least. He's been distant for a while now. Did you talk to Sherry and Alan? Oh, yeah. We had a full-blown argument about it, and even though they agreed, they've been off with me ever since. I mean, if they're making such a big deal about it, they can't possibly have had something good planned. They must have been planning something big and embarrassing. Right. That's what I was thinking. And my money is on you being the one that would be humiliated. So I don't think you were wrong for asking for it. Just keep trying to talk to Benny. I'm sure he'll come around to understanding. I was grateful to have my mom clear my thoughts for me. She made me feel like I was actually sane and not going crazy. I did take her advice to talk to Benny properly, and although it did take a few days for him to actually come around to talking to me, he began talking to me properly, although he was still a little distant. I figured that it was the best I was going to get because he probably felt really bad about not being able to continue a tradition. About 2 weeks before the wedding, however, Benny suddenly began treating me really well. He was back to being his happy-go-lucky self. While I was happy to have him back to being himself, I was worried that the change came about because he was hiding something from me. I tried to ask him what was going on, but he kept reassuring me that there was nothing wrong and that he had just finally accepted what I had asked for. Even though all my instincts were screaming that Benny was lying, I decided to let it go because I had bigger fish to fry. On the day of our wedding, everything was going according to plan. The ceremony was beautiful and I cried way more than I should have. Benny also shed a few tears as I walked down the aisle. It truly was a memorable moment. Then came the reception. While it did start off okay, that was not how it ended. When it came time to cut the cake, Benny and I made our way over to the table that had the cake while everyone stood around us watching. As I went to cut the cake, Alan came forward, grabbed a piece of the cake and threw it in Benny's and my direction. Then Benny and Sherry also grabbed pieces of the cake and threw them in my direction. I was shocked. The guests around me fell silent as Benny and his parents roared with laughter. I had told them explicitly not to do this, and my mother was right. I was the one who was humiliated. Benny noticed the tears that were forming in my eyes and tried to talk to me, but I walked out of the hall. He followed me and grabbed my hand to stop me. Babe, what's wrong? Are you serious? Are you actually asking me what's wrong? Look, if you're worried about the cake, there's another one waiting out back. I don't care about the damn cake, Benny. I asked you guys to not do one thing, and that's exactly what you did. Geez, calm down. It's just a small prank. I don't care. You just went behind my back to do what I asked you not to do. On top of that, you decided that the perfect prank was to absolutely humiliate me and ruin my day. Hey, to be totally honest, my parents came up with the prank. I just went along with it. That's your problem. You knew I didn't want it, and you still let your parents do it. You didn't want to break the news to your parents, so I told them that I didn't want them playing any pranks. The least you could have done was keep them from doing it behind my back. Why are you being such a crybaby about this? You've never had an issue before. You're impossible. I stormed out after that and went over to my mom's. Thankfully, her mom had always kept a spare key under a flower pot outside the main door. I walked into the house and got my sticky cake-covered clothes off and took a nice long hot shower. I couldn't believe that Benny didn't even understand how bad what he did was. Okay, honestly, aside from the prank, I had paid good money for the dress and my makeup. He ruined it in one moment, and I didn't even get to have the perfect pictures of the two of us. I was raging with anger on the inside, and I knew for a fact that I did not want to see Benny and especially his parents for a while. My mom comforted me for the rest of the week. She told me that the wedding party practically died down after that, and Benny and his parents received a lot of backlash from the guests. I felt happy that, at the very least, I had people backing me up. Benny kept trying to get in contact with me to apologize, and I finally responded after a week of ignoring him. We met up at a dinner, talked about things. For the first time, I saw how devastated Benny was. He seemed genuinely apologetic and promised me that he would never let anything like that happen to me ever again. I was happy with Benny's apology, so I gave him a second chance. His parents, however, did not reach out to me until 2 months later. I didn't really want to talk to them, but they did apologize. I decided that 2 months was already way too long for me to hold a grudge against them, so if they actively made an effort to repair our relationship, I would give them a chance. Sherry and Alan actually came through with their efforts. They began hosting dinners at their place again, and pranks were put on hold for a while. They also genuinely apologized to me, and I forgave them. I was still very cautious of them when it came to big events, but they proved to me over time that they had changed. About 2 years after Benny and I got married, I got a huge promotion. Since I had a lot of extra cash to spare, I decided to give Benny and me a treat. So I was thinking, with my big promotion, maybe you would like to go to Hawaii? Oh my God, are you serious? Yes, of course. We've been working really hard these past few years, and I think we deserve a good, luxurious break. That sounds amazing. Are you sure you want to spend your money on this, though? Of course. Why not? I don't know. We could maybe use it towards saving up for a house. I've already put money aside for that. This trip will happen with the extra money I have left over. Oh, wow. Okay, then. Although, what is it? So, my parents have been down on funds and they haven't been able to go on a trip together for a while. Do you think it would be possible to invite them along? I don't know. I wanted it to just be the two of us. I promise you they'll be on their own. They'll leave us alone and let us have our own fun. We'll just need to give them a little money to spend. Okay, that's doable. Although the second they do anything out of line, I'm leaving them there. I swear they won't do anything out of line. I was very skeptical of Sherry and Alan joining us because the last time I had a big expensive event, they ruined it. And Benny sided with them. I didn't want them to do anything to ruin the trip, so I decided to take some safety measures. About 2 days before we were set to leave for Hawaii, Alan and Sherry came over to stay. Our place was much closer to the airport and we didn't want to be late. Everything seemed to be normal. All of us were excited about our upcoming trip and we couldn't stop talking about it. I got busy with packing Benny's and my stuff. The night before the flight, I gave each of them their ticket and passport. None of them checked to see the contents of what I gave them, which was good because I only gave them one-way tickets to Hawaii. If any of them even tried to cross me, they could find their way back. It was the peak holiday season, so flight prices were soaring high. Ha, pun intended. I knew that they wouldn't have the money to come back, so they really had to be on their best behavior if they wanted to have a good vacation and come back home. I fell asleep that night feeling really excited about the trip. When I woke up, however, Benny wasn't next to me. That was odd because Benny never woke up before me. I'm always the one who was to literally drag him out of bed. I walked around the house and it's dead silent. I went over to the guest bedroom and it was empty. None of the packed luggage except for mine was there. As I walked back into my room to call one of them, I saw a note stuck to the door. The note said, "Look who got pranked again." I want to say that I was shocked, but I really wasn't. I was sad though. I really did think we had a good thing going on for a little bit. I believed that we had changed for the better, but that clearly wasn't the case. Benny and his parents only found joy in ruining the big things for me, and that was not going to fly. At that moment, I was so glad that I had foolproofed my plan. I waited until I was sure that the three of them had boarded the flight and had landed in Hawaii before calling them. I tried calling Benny and Alan, but neither of them picked up. Finally, I called Sherry and she picked up. "Hello, look who finally woke up." "Don't even try. Why did you guys leave without me? Couldn't you have woken me up?" "It was just a prank, Evelyn. Calm down." "How could you go on a trip that I planned without me? That's just cruel. This is the second thing you've sabotaged." "Oh, grow up, Evelyn. It was a tiny prank that we played on you. You can book yourself another ticket and come over." "Actually, you know what? You're wrong. Don't tell me you're going to throw a fit about this and not come at all. Don't be a baby." "Well, yes, but also I'm not the one that got pranked. You are." "What do you mean?" "Why don't you check your bag for the ticket and see?" "You only booked us a one-way ticket? How could you do that? Book us one return ticket now." "I'm sorry, Sherry, but you play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. Enjoy your little vacation. Oh, and tell Benny that I'll be divorcing him. Bye now." I don't know what happened to the three of them after or how they managed to come back, but when they did, I had the divorce papers delivered to Benny. He tried to reach out to me and left me hundreds of voicemails ranging from anger to abandoning them to pleading for me to stay with him. I knew I wanted nothing to do with him because he had proved to me that he could not be trusted. I have since moved on from Benny. I have learned to live on my own once again, and I have learned what it is like to make sure my boundaries are always being respected. And that's something that everyone should learn. Family or not, boundaries are boundaries and they are meant to be kept. Don't get played.